You're with Free Transit Ottawa. Go ahead, please.
Great, thank you. As a representative of Free Transit Ottawa, I want to focus on how urban expansion impacts not only the functionality of the city, but also how equitably designed it is. We at Free Transit Ottawa do not support an expansion of the current urban boundary. On April 24th, 2019, the City of Ottawa declared a climate emergency, acknowledging the need for massive reductions in carbon emissions. This can only happen if the city changes many of its policies, above all its approach to urban planning. You're being asked to make a choice here with very clear environmental consequences, and providing for future housing needs by expanding the city's boundary to allow for new single-family dwellings and detached homes will only continue with the old policies, which are incompatible with the need to massively reduce carbon emissions. Transportation is said to be responsible for up to 40% of Ottawa's greenhouse gas emissions. Cars are the main culprit, and these emissions can be reduced by 2/3 on a per-trip basis by using public transit instead of private vehicles. Expanding the boundary and these single-family detached dwellings works against this emissions reduction potential. In most suburban neighborhoods, necessary services are beyond walking distance, forcing people to rely on private cars for the vast majority of their transportation needs. Low-density development makes good public transit prohibitively expensive. I've been really glad today to hear so many stakeholders focusing on transit in planning. But I want to make note that the declared intentions do not seem to match with reality. The relationship between urban sprawl and transit ridership have been shown to be inverse in study after study after study. When sprawl goes up, ridership goes down. I also again want to note that we have seen ongoing ridership declines even without expansion. So already the city services are not meeting the needs of Ottawa citizens without even adding this extra strain. Some are making the claim that most people want to live in the suburbs because they're willing to go afar for their dream home. But a study by the CMHC finds that 80% of home buyers would give up a large house and a yard for a modest or attached dwelling where they could walk to amenities, take transit to work, and commute in under 30 minutes. The argument is also being made that price is a simple question of supply and demand, and so expanding the urban boundary will lower housing costs. But not all supply is equal. The supply of faraway, car-dependent, isolated single-family homes does not meet the demand for housing in livable communities that are close to work and vibrant neighborhoods. The city is claiming that these new developments that are outside of the existing boundary will be near rapid transit and key amenities. They won't be on agricultural land. They won't be on resource-oriented lands. They won't be on our fragile ecological zones, such as wetlands that protect us from worsening floods. I want to note that these proposed neighborhoods, the ones that we're dreaming about in these discussions, are much closer to actually existing within our urban boundary. There's little being said to hold developers accountable to the neighborhoods that they're proposing in order to sway us in favor of a plan with unreliable outcomes. Others defend the expansion because they reject our current forms of densification, and we agree. Right now, densification too often comes in the form of ugly high-rises that offer very little accommodation for families or that displace existing residents. Zoning laws are applied unevenly and often without any clear long-term plan. Rent costs in the few walkable, livable neighborhoods in the city go up as developers build luxury condos rather than affordable housing. But the answer is not to build out the suburbs, but instead to democratize city planning and development. We're being given these nightmarish pictures of how intensification might happen, but often these visions are being presented by developers who have a vested interest in a specific outcome for this plan. I don't think that developers should or can be seen as a neutral source of information in this debate, and I don't think that industry voices should control our urban development. A drive for profit must not have an unlimited control over our future. Our city has the power to direct development in democratic, community-oriented ways. It needs to be viewed as a common space where we make decisions together, and we have a right to shape our city together as a community. The city, its government, and its people, not developers, need to be at the helm of our urban planning. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kirstin. Appreciate you coming out today.